This is the basketball show. What they gonna say next?
Hello, you're watching The Basketball Show, proudly brought to you by TCL Mobile and Chemist Warehouse, along with our broadcast partners, Kayo and Corp. I'm Jo Healy, alongside Shane the Hammer Heel. Shane, how are you today?
Very well, thank you. Good to be here. Another week. How much has already happened in that last 7 days?
I know, and we've got a lot to get through today as well. We are going under the hammer for the first time this season. Now, Shane, we've had a little bit of negative feedback on social media.
What?
A couple of perhaps bitter or ignorant people, you could say, sort of suggesting that perhaps you and the likes of a Chris Anstey and that kind of thing didn't really get involved or appreciate women's basketball until your daughters started playing. What do you have to say to that?
Well, I'll start off with saying that we'd be here all day if we were answering any sort of negativity on social media. But this ignorant one, I thought I'd just put it in perspective, because for women's basketball, for me, I was introduced to it when I was 15. I was lucky enough, the Nunawading Inspectors, to be able to see one of the best women's team of all time. Girls like Michelle Timms and Shelley Gorman and Robin Marr. When we did a pre-season a couple of months to get ready for the men's and the women's season, and seeing the way these girls operated was absolutely inspiring. And then I guess lucky enough to play at the Olympics and then sit courtside and see some of the opals win medals, things that we couldn't do as boomers, to be able to sit courtside and to be able to appreciate that. And I guess just as a way of education for me, I've coached more in women's basketball than I have in men, because I coached under 12s, 14s, 16s, 18s, sometimes 14s and 18s in the same season. It's just what you do as a girl dad. And I think what we have to be able to do, and why we do this show, is it's a bit of a secret, the WNBL. No one knows about it outside of this community. We have to embrace more people. We need more girl dads. We need more families. We need more mums. We need more boys and girls getting involved so we can appreciate the talent of the WNBL. That's hammered this week.
Yeah, well said. We love new people getting involved. It's such a good competition, the WNBL. Let's get straight into Hammer's Hunch now, because we've got a lot to get through there as well. I want to very quickly look back at our season predictions. We sort of talked about a top four and a bottom four. You could probably argue the bottom three it's turned into now. Talk to me through that.
Well, I think we said that, and I think Bendigo, they've probably proven to be probably an NBL 1 team, to be honest. They're not going to win a game, and I think the longer the season goes, it's going to be even more difficult for them. Perth, we predicted to finish second last. I think that's probably on track as well. As soon as Sammy Wickham went out, just took such a big chunk out of their team. Really young team, so they've invested in some of those young kids, which I think is a real positive. And Sydney, even though they've had some positives from like Maley, 20 rebounds, that's unbelievable the other day. Her energy is incredible. Scherf, Funda had a big game for the first time as well, so they've discovered her. And I think Mansfield's been solid as well. But those three, they're not going to worry anybody. They're only going to beat each other, I think. Okay,
so the bottom three, that means we've essentially got a top five in the race to the finals. Adelaide, there's a bit of a question mark around them. They obviously won their first two games, then went into quarantine. I think a lot of people perhaps thought that it would almost be a potentially a good thing. They had time to rest. They could train while they were in quarantine, but then they came out and got absolutely demolished. Where do you see them fitting in amongst the rest of the league?
Well, I picked them to finish fifth, and I still stick by that. I think a lot of people got carried away with their first win. They beat Canberra. It was a great win, no doubt about that. But Canberra were a bit undermanned as well. Their second game was against Perth, and they really struggled. They didn't play the same sort of basketball. Then they went into quarantine. As you said, they rested, got a chance, I thought, to be able to come back a little bit fresher and surprise Melbourne, who were struggling. But they got their butt handed to them, and I think it's going to be a challenge for them. I don't think they make the top four, but they'll win some games along the way.
Where do you think they are lacking?
I think they lack depth, quality depth. When you see Talbot, Brooke, you see some of these girls that are playing really well, but then when you see them have some subs, they just don't have the same depth as some of those other top four teams. But they'll fight. They play hard. I like the way they play, but I think they'll just fall short.
Let's keep it moving. You had Townsville as the surprise packet of the season. They essentially have proven you right.
Well, I think most people probably thought that I was being a bit biased when I said they'd finish third and that they would surprise people. But my faith was built in what Shannon Seaborn could do as a coach. This is the first time that Shannon's had a chance to be able to pick his own team. So he's handpicked these players to play the role, and I think what he's done is all of his players complement each other. They get on well. They've got a mixture between youth and experience as well. And I think, right now, one of the better players in the league is Lauren Nicholson, and she's led from the front.
Most definitely. You had Melbourne down as the team that could potentially underperform. Do I even need to ask how you're going to answer this one?
Well, they've got one of the most talented teams in the league, and we said that at the start. But
so inconsistent.
They are. And I also said before the season started is that part of that will be injuries to Garrick, and she's shown that she's been inconsistent coming back from an ankle injury. So it's tough to be able to do that. Magin has been fantastic. It's going to be a challenge for her, though, the longer the season goes on, to be able to perform at that level, and probably haven't found their best out of their bigs, even though they're quality, all quality.
What about Canberra? You had them down as second. They're obviously the two-time defending champions. They have been pretty damn good, though.
Didn't I cop it for that? And people say, Canberra can't even beat Adelaide. They're not going to be in the top two.
They lost their imports, which was one thing. But actually, they still do have a number of American-born players.
Yeah, well, they're quality. They've got depth, and they do. They've got 3 American-born players. They've got the most American-born players in the league, but they've got some great young players as well. Rochi has been fantastic. Jade Melbourne, what a surprise she's been. Saw her on the Australian junior team only a couple of years ago, and she's really improved. Great kid, great attitude. And then Tolo, they've got a legitimate big that can compete against a Cambage as well.
It feels like Kelsey Griffin is really only just starting to build now as well after coming back.
She's a vet. She's taking her time. It'll be minutes. They're managing her minutes really well. She is a champion. There's no doubt about that. She will come good at the right time, and it's going to be a really difficult matchup for who gets them in that first game in the top 4.
The Flyers, talk to me. They are stacked. Everybody knows that, but they've stumbled a little bit.
They have. Well, I didn't think they'd lose a couple of games. I thought they might lose one, maybe, but they've shown that they're vulnerable. And what other teams do is they get a sniff of that. So that whole mindset of, Liz and Leilani and all of the opals and everything else, players get a sniff of that with the competitiveness, and they go for it. They go for the throat. And the problem that the Flyers have got is every team that comes up against them, it's like a grand final for them.
Yeah.
They get an opportunity in the spotlight to play against one of the best players in the world. So they get everybody's haymaker every time they come up. I still think they win it. I think that the losses they've had will actually help them, but at the same time, they're certainly showing they're vulnerable a little bit.
You said that after the first loss. We didn't necessarily expect them to have another loss in the grand final rematch. No. Where did Canberra win that, and where did the Flyers lose it?
Well, it was one of the only games that I haven't seen, but from what they jumped them.
Sorry to put you on the spot there.
That's all right. But they jumped them, and they came out hard. They got all over Leilani. Was able to watch some of those highlights. Defensively, they did a good job. Anytime you get Liz into foul trouble, and she only plays 8 minutes in the first half, they lose some momentum. Such a big hole in their team for other people to pick up that slack. And obviously they weren't able to get that done at the time. But again, the Flyers learn from that. They're not going to get caught off guard. Liz isn't going to lose her temper, you wouldn't think, in the next time they play them. She's not going to get into foul trouble. So it's going to be a great battle next time they play against each other.
Canberra's backcourt had it over the Flyers' backcourt, definitely in that one.
Youth.
Yes.
The youth.
Yeah, it's exhausting watching them, to be honest. Yeah. Do you think those two will be the team at the end in that grand final?
Well, they're the most likely, but both those teams could be beaten by a Melbourne or a Townsville on a particular night. The most likelihood is those two teams will go in.
Well, that's what we're coming into, isn't it? There's no grand final series or anything like that. It is literally one game. It takes you back to when you were playing up at sort of the junior ranks where it really was one game. If we had to select an MVP from what we've seen so far, who would you pick?
Well, I'd go with Lauren Nicholson. For me, it sounds like she's my daughter. Every week I bang on about Lauren Nicholson, but I think she's the best defensive player in the league, and I think she's averaging 19 points a game. She's playing a really big leadership role with a pretty inexperienced team. A mixture of youth and experience, but even some of the experienced players, haven't had experience in big games, apart from Mia Murray, of course, but a lot of kids coming back from college and things like that. So she's played a pivotal role, and they love her. They love playing with her, and they certainly wouldn't be in the hunt for the top 3 right now if she wasn't there.
Speaking of your daughter, Shai has been absolutely excellent. I know you don't want to harp on and you want her to create her own name for herself, but she is absolutely doing that. You must be really proud.
Yeah, I am. And we expected that that's what she was going to do with the work that she's sort of done. So I'm glad she's in an environment where it's embraced. She gets that opportunity, playing with good people, good system, good coach. And that's what it's about. When you're 19, that's the most important thing. What are you learning on a day-to-day? What video are you watching? How do you go away and become a better player the next day? And she's in the perfect environment for that.
The Fire got one over the Boomers. Shannon Seabohm outcoached Guy Malloy. Where was that challenge won and lost?
Well, I think it starts with the initial game plan. I think Shannon came in with a really good game plan. And it's easy to sit back after the game and go, someone was outcoached. Sometimes it comes down to making shots. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it doesn't. And I look at what adjustments they make. So if Shannon throws the first punch, they get a big advantage. I'm looking at what Guy Malloy is doing on his chalkboard to be able to, change things around. What are you going to adjust to be able to stop the momentum? How can I bring other people in, zones, presses, everything else, match up, changes, different offenses, all of those things. And, the timeouts aren't complimentary for Guy because he's not making a lot of changes when they're going down the gurgler. And I just thought Shannon did a great job and showed that he's probably one of the best coaches in the league.
We're almost halfway through what has been a really compact and intense season. Are there any players that have stood out and surprised you so far?
Yeah, I have to say Jade Melbourne. I mean, she's only played junior basketball really until this point. And then, even on the Australian junior team 2 years ago in Belarus, I was over there watching. Shannon was the coach. My daughter's on the team. She was the 12th man. She hardly got on. She got on in the bronze medal game and made a difference defensively over 3 or 4 minutes. But to see the way she's played, with the confidence she's played, and it makes me wonder why so many kids are going to college. It's like monkey see, monkey do. Oh, I've got to go to college, got to go to college. Mm-hmm. She can play in the league right now and play a critical role like what we've seen and still get a university degree with most of our great teams here that can supply that as well. So it beats me why anyone would pick up and go when you've got that sort of talent and you can play that role.
All right, let's keep it moving now with our TCL starting five. We're going to focus on the men's game here. NBL to the NBA. There's been a lot of movement, Hammer.
How good. Yeah. How exciting. When you've got young American players coming to our country, like LaMelo Ball and RJ Hampton, coming to play in the NBL to make it in the draft. And obviously, LaMelo went to Charlotte and Denver for RJ, but then Jayshawn Tate, I love the way he played last year for the Sydney Kings, and so happy to see him get picked up by the Rockets. And we've also got some existing players that have changed teams as well.
We do love the Aaron Baines move to Toronto. He literally stepped straight in as a starter there, really hopefully re-energising his career. He was great before COVID hit and then obviously copped it himself and wasn't able to be there in the bubble. And Ryan Broekhoff as well at 76ers, finally.
And I reckon he's playing for one of the better coaches, talking about Baines as well. In Toronto, a whole lot of guard action, pick and pop. He's going to have a fantastic year.
It's not just the players, though. The coaches are on the move as well.
Well, how good's this? Damien Cotter, he was assistant coach to me at the Kings and then coached the Kings for a couple of years. Went over there and was G League assistant and coach, and now he's on the bench for the Chicago Bulls. Will Weaver as well, only at the Kings for a year, but gone straight back into a job with the Rockets. Matty Nielsen with the Spurs is a G League coach as well. So we've got a lot of, not Australian, Will being American, but coming through our league as well and using it as a stepping stone. Yeah,
it's almost like the next program, but from a coach's point of view as well. Any kind of publicity from that point of view for the NBL is great for Australian basketball.
No doubt.
The Taipans imports, they have secured their roster. Talk to me.
How good. This is the best American combination in the NBL. And we say at the moment because there's still a few teams that haven't finalised their roster.
I was going to say, we are going to grab that sound grab and we will play it again when the NBL season starts.
There's an asterisk because we haven't seen some of them yet. But Cam Oliver, he's going to get better. He was a superstar last year, and Machado, one of the best point guards, no doubt about it, just controlled that team. So they've done well to get those two superstars. They needed to because they don't have the same local talent as most of the other teams. So that will give them a chance to be able to compete.
I want to go back to the coaches very quickly. The Jack Jumpers have suggested that they are not only looking for potentially a male coach, but they're open to having a female coach as well. Given that we've not seen that in the NBL before, does that surprise you?
Well, I think they should be open. This is about the candidates. Who would be the candidates?
That's probably the next question, no doubt. I certainly can't think of anyone off the top of my head. Maybe you look at a couple of the assistant coaches in the WNBL or the head coaches in the WNBL. Sandy Brondello would be probably the first one you'd think of.
Well, I think she said that she's happy with her jobs at the moment, but she certainly would be one. I'm not sure how many others, but I'd love to hear who they're considering.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm glad they're considering it.
Totally. Be open to it. I spoke to Lisa Alexander not too long ago, the former Diamonds coach, who wanted to interview for the Kangaroos head coach role in the AFL. Yeah, and good on her. If she believes that she has the skills and the capability to lead a team like that, then absolutely, why not? Hopefully one day we see it.
Love to.
All right, let's move on. Something a little bit more fun just to finish our top 5. What happens when athletes try their hand at acting? Doesn't always end particularly well, but we'll take a look. Here is Carl Anthony Towns doing a mixed spiced advert.
Aloe for sensitive skin. Perfect for a lady. You're coming with me.
Jordan, my body wash is completely empty.
Your body wash?
Old Spice.
I think I said mixed spice, Old Spice, but still.
I know that's supposed to be tongue-in-cheek, but he wasn't acting. I reckon that's how he would be when he came out of the shower, talking to his girl.
Yeah, probably. You're not wrong.
You've used my lotion. He's a sook. He didn't act. That's him.
I want to know how much he got paid to do that. That's
Lots.
probably, yeah,
Lots.
Absolutely. All right, it is time for a few of my favourite things. Love a little bit of social media, so let's just take a look at what's been happening. Starting with the Capitals, their veterans, Hammer, Keely Froling, Kelsey Griffin, Mariana Tolo. Turns out they're not amazing in the kitchen. They set off the fire alarm. Take a look at this. The fire brigade had to come and sort out what was happening. It wasn't a big deal in the end. Turns out it was burnt tomato.
Tomato?
Yeah.
You
Tomato,
reckon?
sorry. I've had it forever.
That would have been a Froling for sure.
Do you reckon?
I've seen her old man. He's done that before.
Well, speaking of, Keely celebrated her graduation just this last week up in the bubble. Congratulations to her. She says, I've officially passed all my classes. She's a certified physio. Congratulations. This is the closest she reckons she's going to get to a graduation photo, but she looks good, I reckon.
And definitely the smartest in the family.
Okay.
Well done. Congratulations to her, physio. She'll be getting paid to play and to be able to get the girls ready on and off.
Yeah, how good.
Perfect.
Now, the Flames have been doing some recovery. In fact, all the teams have been doing recovery and taking in the sights of North Queensland. I know that they're in an isolation bubble of sorts, but it's really, really hard to feel any kind of empathy when they're in a location like this.
They're in resorts.
I know. They're practically on holiday. None of this, this bubble, woe is me business. How lovely does that look? So the Flames girls, they are up at Fitzroy Island National Park. If anybody wants to head up there, I certainly know it's on my list.
We're allowed now, so that'd be great.
I know.
Thank you, Premier.
Definitely. Birthday improvisations. So Zatina Akuso turned 22. This is Loz Nicholson. Obviously couldn't find a flower vase, so got the old plastic cereal box, but then stuffed it with chocolates. I would love that.
That's good. And I know they gave her a cake. They were all hiding in the cupboards. It was getting hot in the cupboards as she came in. I know Shyla turned on the air conditioning and it blew out the candles to wreck the whole surprise. She takes after her mum. That kid, I tell you.
Oh, be careful what you're saying here. And obviously, finally, if you're down with the kids, you know what TikTok is. Everybody loves a little bit of dancing. Everybody on social media is doing it. I'm definitely not, but I'm sure you've probably tried it with the girls, have you?
Nope. I've got no rhythm. You've got to know your strengths and weaknesses in life.
Here's Monique Conti and Beck Pizzi lapping it up in the pool. Look at them go. They got the moves. That was Liz Cambay. She was filming that. I'm sure she got involved as well.
It's not bad rhythm.
Yeah, no, they're doing okay. They're doing okay. So that's what's happening on social media this week. Love keeping an eye on what everybody's doing.
Send us stuff in.
Yeah, definitely.
See from the girls. That'd
definitely.
Be good. Just no more armpit stuff.
No, we'll leave that for last week.
Yeah.
It's time for some top 10 highlights. Let's take a look. Kicking off this week's top 10 is the Lynx. Katie Ebzery threaded the needle for Darcy Garvin on the roll. Garvin finished with 24 points despite the heavy loss to the Flyers. At 9, Bendigo got off to a good start against Townsville. Tess Lavey literally burst down the court to finish off the defensive trans. Lauren Scherf's peach of a pass into Carly Bogue on the back cut comes in at number 8. The Caps got the better of the Flames in that one though. At 7, it's Kelsey Griffin's lob into Keely Froling for the alley-oop. At 6, Maddie Garrick was back to her usual self. She nailed the handle with this move against Adelaide. The team of the round featured Jade Melbourne this week, and she took it to the big guns in the paint, dropping a game-high 20 points in the Caps' win over the Boomers. The 18-year-old has been impressive, but Liz Cambage made sure to bring her back down to earth in the grand final rematch. Next up, Shyla Heal didn't bother letting the Spirit set up in D, just casually dropping the pull-up 3 as the Fire took charge in the third. At number 2, the Boomers pulled out the party tricks in their demolition of the Lightning. Exhibit A, Antonia Farnworth's dime to Kalani Purcell. They blew it out by 40 points in the end. And at number 1, I love this. Mia Murray goes straight from the inbound with a nifty pass to Loz Nicholson under the basket. That's team chemistry and basketball IQ 101.
Well, how good is that? Healy's highlights. I know the time that you put in and the passion you've got. And I went home and I said to my second daughter, Straubs, I said, what do you think of the show? She said, it was the best show you guys have done and the best 2 segments are Joe's.
Yes, love it.
Jeez.
Thank you very much.
Come back.
How good.
Yeah, very good.
No, it's a lot of fun to put together. All right, let's go courtside with our contributors around the country. We love hearing from these guys. Renae Garlepp is up first. What have you got for us?
Hey guys, at just over 3 rounds, I think it's safe to say some things are playing out a little unexpected. From Adelaide's forced sabbatical to the rise of Jade Melbourne, the WNBL is certainly keeping us on our toes with a few surprises. First up, I want to note the play of Annalee Maley. As a junior, she made her name for herself with her hustle and her energy, and she's now getting it done at the elite level, posting some huge numbers on the boards, as well as getting after everything. She sees herself in a new role this year with the Flames. She's a starter, and she's been given a lot more opportunity, and it's safe to say she's grabbed it with 2 hands. The next surprise would be the creative player rotations of the Canberra Capitals. I don't think we would have expected at the start of the season that we would see Rochi, Cabillo and Melbourne all get the start together. However, all 3 of them have stepped up, and it's created a great opportunity for coach Paul Goris to take Tapia, Roof and Griffin off the bench, providing great support and giving the team a unique balance of playmakers within their starters as well as their bench. Not to mention they have Opal centre Mariana Tolo, Keely Froling and Kelsey Griffin, who we really haven't seen the best of just yet. My final surprise would be the Southside Flyers. I don't think many people expected them to have a loss this season, as well as 2 in the first 3 rounds. I still think they've got the team to get it done. But in saying that, I wouldn't be surprised if, similar to Melbourne, that being in lockdown for so long before the hub may have taken a bigger toll on players than we actually expected. I'm excited to see how they bounce back, as after all, we're only 3 weeks out from finals. So that's it for me. Let's look forward to more surprises.
Yeah, great to hear from Renae there. How much she had a couple of good points. Maley, Melbourne and the Flyers just being a little bit up and down at the moment.
They are. I think we've spoken about some of those points, but love hearing it from Renae for the expertise that she brings to the show.
Definitely. Speaking of, here's Derek Rucker.
Thank you, guys. Well, it's apparent after a couple of rounds into this WNBL season that the Southside Flyers have the most dominant player in the competition with Liz. But that's not enough. The teams that are going to go really well in the rest of this season and into the postseason will have the best and most productive perimeter play. And right now, you're seeing Townsville exceed everyone's expectations because of their excellent guard play. Shyla Heal and Lauren Nicholson are doing an amazing job in the backcourt, and then they've got balance. They've got Kate Gaze, they've got Mia Murray, Steph Reed, Courtney Woods, Nadine Payne. All these girls are doing a fantastic job on both ends of the court and really leading that team to some great victories thus far. We've seen with Southside, when their guard play isn't up to scratch, they can be popped. The Melbourne Boomers caught them. All right, Canberra caught them. Leilani Mitchell is still a fantastic player, but she needs a bit more support now on both ends of the court so that she can really shine and do the things she needs to do. I expect Beck Cole to pick up her contribution and show that she is an opal. All right, the Melbourne Boomers, two outstanding players with Garrick and Magin, but they have to overcome the little injury problems that they've had so that they can help lead their team into the grand final. And a quiet MVP candidate, Madison Rachi. She's been doing a great job along with Jade Melbourne in putting Canberra in a position in which they can compete also down the stretch. It's going to be great. Perimeter players, be productive, lead your teams, and stay healthy. I look forward to this coming week's games. It's going to be fantastic. Talk to you guys next week.
Well, thanks, Derek, from Derek Rucker Basketball. And he's spoken about the blowouts, and it's really paved that's been the case over the last week or so. I think we're going to see that difference between the top and bottom significantly over the next couple of weeks.
I think you're probably right there. Now, each week on the basketball show, Chemist Warehouse are supporting us in going in depth with an exclusive look at what's happening around the league. This week, we're back with the Capitals, having a look at the work that they're doing in the community.
Darwin, where I'm from, you probably would never see a pro team unless there was a game up there. One time at our awards night in Darwin, Lauren Jackson came to be the guest speaker, so I was super young then and got to meet her, so that was pretty inspiring for me. But I think even just recently getting to play with Leilani Mitchell was super awesome, and she's such a great inspiration for me, so that was really cool to learn off of her. So we're at Edmonton PCYC today doing a clinic. It's really awesome for us to be able to give back to the community and engage and run this clinic for them. You know, I want to be able to show them that it's possible for them to achieve whatever it is, whether that's in the sporting field or education or anything at all. So it's really important, really special that I get to be that. The girls are incredible and they always want to give back and be a part of stuff like this. So I feel really privileged to be a part of a group like this.
We're all different heights, different sizes. We're women. You can play basketball no matter what and get something out of it, have fun and enjoy spending time with people.
It's just bringing your strengths, maximising the opportunity and just learning from it as well. Like every day I'm learning from all my teammates, all the experiences that I've been able to have so far, and just embrace it, soak everything up like a sponge, and yeah, just seeing what that brings.
Super important, you know, we have talked about this actually as a team and we want to be genuine in what we do, so the We Got You wasn't just for us to say, yep, we've got this on our shirts and we're playing for this, but we want to be out in the community and showing that we really care about what's happening and we don't stand for racism in sports. I think just being professional athletes and being here makes the children and kids feel included in the sport and that they're able to do this, so that's really what we're hoping for. Just hope they enjoy it and they see that basketball can be fun and something that there's access to, and I guess give them the opportunity to see that they can get to whatever level they want to in whatever avenue they want to be at.
Well, what a story, and congratulations to the Canberra Capitals. They have been unbelievably professional, and the work they've done in the indigenous community is second to none in the WNBL. Abby Cabillo, she spoke so well, becoming a role model in that community as well. And a big shout out to Ricky Baldwin. I know he's done a lot of work as well, ex-teammate of mine. Involved in the indigenous community as well.
Yeah, it's obviously a wonderful cause, one that we here at the Basketball Show we're fully getting behind as well, and really love what the Capitals are doing. Unfortunately, that's all we've got time for today. It goes so quickly, Emma.
It does. It's gone.
I know. Thank you again to TCL Mobile and Chemist Warehouse as always. Thank you guys for watching as well. We'll be back next week.
This is a co-production by News Corp Australia and Closer Sport.